Good evening and welcome to English 6 Back to School Night presentation here at GW Middle School for the 2022-2023 school year. My name is Mrs. Porod and I'm the English teacher for our Monroe House. Who is Miss Porod? Well, Mrs. Porod is the person that is unfortunately unable to be with you this evening. I have tested positive for COVID, so I wanted to make sure that you actually heard my voice, you were able to see me on the screen, and hear a little bit about what our curriculum will entail during this school year. I'm starting my 24th year in Ridgewood, although this is my first year at GW. Previously, my experience has been at elementary. I've taught at Willard and Orchard. I was a classroom teacher in third, fourth, and fifth grade, as well as an educational specialist for third, fourth, and fifth. I have a BA in English with a certification in education, which is kindergarten through eighth grade, and I have a master's of science in educational leadership. When I think about all of my credentials, I'm proud of the work and time that I've put into them. But when I think about teaching, I consider it my calling. I know this is what I was meant to do, and I'm proud of it. When we think of English, we break it up into three components. Students have this 57-minute block. It's a rotating drop-off schedule. And during that 57 minutes, over the course of a week, over the course of a marking period in a year, we will be teaching reading, writing, and vocabulary. When we dive into the reading aspect of our curriculum, there are different components to it. Students will have independent reading. Students will be reading common texts. When we talk about independent reading, students will have time following direct instruction and mini lessons in class about reading strategies, close reading, reading nonfiction texts, and they will need to read independently and follow through on those skills. There is also an expectation that our students will be reading 150 minutes per week on their own outside of school. This falls on them. We do not have a daily reading log that was kept in elementary school. Here in 6th, 7th, 8th, this 150-minute requirement falls on the child to manage. I've talked to the kids about, we all know we have that, maybe it's Monday night or Wednesday night where your schedule is packed and you don't have the 30 minutes a night to give to it. If you can read 15 there and increase the number of minutes the next night, that's a perfect way to do it. We do keep a log in class, though, and we monitor how many books students are completing, the time frame for the completion of books, as well as really focusing in on the genres that students are reading. The chart that we have, I think it has 15 different genres that we're expecting students to try and tap into over the course of the school year. We don't want kids to get locked into authors or series for too long. We love that they find one that they love, but we also need to broaden their horizons. So this log that will be kept in school, we're expecting that during a marking period, they'll cover at least 3 different genres in all the books that they read in the marking period. If they do that, that'll tap out at 12 after 4 marking periods with a reach to get to that additional 15. They have an opportunity to select books from the classroom library, and we have a beautiful library here in our classroom as well. They can go to the school media center. It's a fabulous place here at GW. They can get there before school, after school, during English, and during homeroom, with a pass, of course. But they also have access to Sora, which is an ebook library that's offered through the media center. There are 2 common texts that we will be reading this year as a whole class. They are the Wednesday Wars and Lizzie Bright and the Buckminster Boy. When we read these texts, students will have the opportunity to have a paper copy of this book in hand, as well as a digital format that's being uploaded to Google Classroom. The beauty in that is if they're doing work and they leave their book in their locker at home, in school, they can log on and just read the digital format. We also have readers that prefer reading digitally, as well as those who really want to turn those pages in their hand. So we offer all options. We use these to launch very deep discussions. We stop and notice. We really talk about evidence, character actions and reactions in texts. And also, we try to teach kids how to have respectful conversation where we don't necessarily agree on everything. In reading, there is explicit instruction that will be taught about the writing about reading. That is a must. We will use graphic organizers. I'm a big one on checklists to help kids understand what really needs to be a part of their writing, as well as formats that are based on specific genres that they read. If we bump into writing component of our English coursework, there's 3 published pieces that we're going to be writing in this class: a narrative, a compare-contrast through a literary analysis, and a literary essay. Students will be able to generate ideas. We work through citing evidence, and we focus on word choice. We have to expand that. We will be utilizing the traditional 5-paragraph essay format, as well as moving beyond that 5-paragraph essay format and not getting locked into it for those that can expand and move beyond. A huge focus for us will be grammar instruction, and we do have a resource to use, a textbook. It's not like the hardcover textbook of years ago, and it's not a workbook that is consumable and kids can write in, but it is a standard guide which will help us engage students in the instruction of grammar. But we're really looking for them to show their mastery and understanding outside of that textbook that we have. We want to see that application in the writing pieces that they're doing. Some of the concepts that we will be covering in grammar include complex and compound sentences, independent and dependent clauses, subordinating and coordinating conjunctions, fragments and run-ons, always an issue, as well as things like subject, predicate, noun, adjective, and verb. There is also an expectation for spelling in published pieces, and we talk about using the rules and patterns of word study that we know. We are providing kids with good old-fashioned dictionaries. It's not a bad tool. It's something they should be able to still use. But we also do have digital resources available readily to us to do that work as well. Speaking digitally, one of the programs that we will be using here in writing is Google Read and Write. It's an excellent word processing program. It has a lot of really good features on it. For those that have trouble trying to get their ideas out, we actually have a speech to text function where the student can talk to the computer and it's going to document what it is that they're trying to write. There's another feature where we can highlight what you've written and the computer will read it aloud to us. That is an excellent tool for proofreading to help students along their journey. Of course, we are going to support side-by-side and coach editing skills. One of the questions I often get from parents is, how do I help my kid with this? We need to help them train the eye to find the error. I am a big advocate of the fact that if you're helping your child proofread something, instead of telling them, you have a run-on sentence here, you've spelled that word wrong, you've used the wrong form of the word there, put an arrow in the margin next to the line that has the issue and tell them, you have a spelling problem here. Reread this sentence. What would you change? Because this way we're guiding their eye to find the error instead of just handing it over to them. And hopefully that gradual progression will be they're seeing it without us even putting the arrows in the margin anymore. The final component of English class is vocabulary. Vocabulary is one of those big leaps that we have out of elementary school to middle school. In English, word lists are developed from the text that we are reading and the units of study that we're completing. The list will be about 15 words long. Students are expected to learn the meaning and be able to use it in daily conversation. They're going to be introduced to these words and taught practice and study skills with it, from good old-fashioned flashcards, which have definitions and picture illustrations to help understand meaning, to digital tools like Quizlet and Bookit. In English class, students will be given a pre-test after they've had kind of some experience with the words for about 2 weeks. And that will be on a Google form, that pretest. It'll help them try to understand, okay, how far have I come with learning these words and which words am I not owning yet? That does not go into Skyward as a grade. This is used as a tool to help kids understand where am I at with the work that I'm trying to do. The post test, which is also a Google form, is the grade that will go in as their vocabulary grade into Skyward. As I said, this is one of the greatest leaps from elementary school. What I notice is that they're going to have these word lists in multiple content areas here at middle school. They will be tested on multiple word lists here at middle school. And they need to really get ahead of studying the vocabulary words that are coming at them. Okay. Google Classroom is another tool that is utilized in middle school that changes from the use in elementary school. We're encouraging the kids to always check your Google Classroom for assignment information. That's a place where I'm going to post homework and resources. They'll find graphic organizers that have been shared in class, checklists for writing, copies of digital text that we're reading in class, as well as any assignments. The other thing is that students should really be checking their email on a daily basis. That's a place where teachers could be reaching out to them. It is also their tool to communicate with teachers when they have questions or concerns about something. If they need an extra 15 minutes after school to go over something, if they're unsure of an assignment. So we really need to teach them how to use those tools. That must have been the fastest back to school night presentation I've ever given. I know I went over the 7 minutes. I apologize for that. But I want to end by saying thank you for sharing your children with me this year. I'm really looking forward to our time together. Have a great evening.